There we go. All right, so we are going to get started today, mark making. Hello, everybody that are just joining us. I am Joy Ting. I'm so glad you're here and you're getting to join us. Today's exercise is going to be a practice in seeing. A lot of times when we are around, we see the beautiful flowers, we see, maybe you're on a walk, you see the leaves, you see all these things. But today I would like for you to just like zoom in and look at like the littlest things, and maybe even like if you have hardwood floors, like the pattern on your hardwood floor, or like if you have a cool wallpaper, the texture of the wallpaper, things like that. And then we'll create something from there. So I'm gonna go to my desk. So we're not gonna try to create something yet. We're just gonna try to see. This is something that I like to do when we're at the hardware store. I like to take pictures of the granite. And then like I have it on my phone. And if I'm out of ideas, like it might be like right now, if I don't have any ideas, I will take this and use this as a mark making inspiration. So if you got the packet, don't worry if you don't have it printed out. I have it right here so you can see. This is cement. And the cool thing about this is there's so many types of marks that are in this cement. For example, I just fell in love, like I love circles. There's so many circles, there's squiggly lines, there's little dots. So we'll be doing a lot of that today. So I would like for you to take your sketchbook, get some ink if you have any, or use your watercolor, whatever you have. I'm gonna use this Chinese ink. I'm just gonna put some on my page. That's not a page, put some on my palette. That's what I'm doing. All right, this is gonna get messy. I'm just letting you know. So if you have wipes around, great to have. Also gonna use white paint. It's acrylic paint. Just gonna squeeze some of that into the palette. The cool thing about just doing something that's black and white is it kind of focuses you in a little bit. You don't have to worry about getting distracted by other colors. You're just really looking and focusing on what you have. So that's what we have here. I will be using, put this aside for a second. Do you have your sketchbook? Let's open it up to a blank page. And if you have a spot, I'll just put mine on this side. If you have a spot where you can, I was telling some of the people in my other class that I was doing a loose floral watercolor class, that I made this gigantic sketchbook. And I love it, but it's falling apart like at the seams. I put two sketchbooks together. So it is now falling apart, which I'm so bummed about, but it's okay. And it's super heavy. So sometimes I don't carry it with me as much as I would like, but just look for a blank page. Okay, get a straight edge. I'm going to use Legos, which is my most favorite thing in the world, since my boys have them everywhere. And I'm just gonna make squares. So let's make 3 squares. And I'd like for you to choose a brush. Those of you that are late and are just joining us, I had asked everybody if they can look around your area for some unconventional tools. I'm using some sticks. I am using some weird brushes, like this brush I gave a haircut just to see how it would look. This is a weird brush that I found in my stash. I forgot I had this like Chinese calligraphy brush. Just anything you have. Maybe some other mark making tools, like I have watercolor pencils here. All right, and then you might be saying, Joy, what does it have to do with flowers? It doesn't always have to do with flowers, the things we do. sometimes you just want to do something that doesn't make sense. But it will inform what you're doing. The thing that I love too about these boxes is it kind of I have a fear of the blank page. Like when I see a huge blank page, like it kind of stresses me out just a little bit, like, oh, it's too big. So if I put a box there or something on there, it always helps me out. So, and then I only have to worry about this little square. I don't have to worry about the whole page. All right. Okay, I'll give you a second to get settled. I am going to, I have too much stuff. That's what it is. I got to move some things over. All right. All right. So Luisa says, I found Lego too. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, get those Legos out. Who says Legos are for kids, right? Anybody can use it. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say something. Oh, those are fun colors, Luisa. End up using squares. You know what? Maybe circular Legos. There's got to be, right? Okay. So I'm going to use this weird brush because it just intrigues me. Weird stone. I don't know. I don't even know if it's a wall or what. Can you guys see that okay? Okay. If not, I can, it's on the Dropbox, I think the link, but I'll try to keep it close. Here, I'll hold it up for a second. So it's a lot of weird lines, horseshoes and different things. And then we're just gonna make mark with I'm gonna dip into my ink and I'm just gonna try to mimic some circles or use, letter use. And then I'm going to fill. Oh, this is already, I'm already having a good time just using a strange tool. Like you can find inspiration anywhere. Like I love taking pictures of tree bark. Trees are great too, but the tree bark, some of those barks just have such amazing texture. So now what I'm doing is maybe varying my brush handling. Maybe I'm doing really thin. Oops, that's a thick. Going thin. So I'm just kind of getting inspired by this. Doing some dots. Wiggling my weird brush around. Just to try it out. Okay, switching a tool. Some of these lines are kind of sweepy. So I'm going to take some ink. Just going to sweep. See, you can, if you have a brush that you are thinking about maybe throwing away, maybe try giving it a haircut and seeing the kind of marks it's making. This one's bringing me joy. Like, I forgot the things it can do. Also, you don't have to stay within the lines. I always have 2 cups of water next to me because I dirty one pretty quick. So that's something that you might want to do in the future. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to ask. And there's some like really circular shapes here. So I'm just gonna add that. So this is more like abstract, but can you see that like being maybe enlarged and like at a hotel, sometimes they have those like really huge abstract paintings on the wall. Like that's fun to do. Maybe you can get a canvas, do some kind of exercise like this. All right, so now for your next square, try to pick a different tool. I'm going to try to use a stick. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to first use my weird hair cutty brush because That's fun. And I'm just gonna do some sweeping lines. Ooh. So if I press down really hard, it does a weird brush stroke, see? Sometimes, like I said, it's fun to just look through your stash of supplies that you may have forgotten you had. Just get some out. And just play. So now I'm going to take some white and I'm just going to see how it looks on top there. Not really showing up yet. You can make a gray by taking a lot of white and a dab of black. Then I'll use my stick. As you can see, I use this for all sorts of colors. It has red on it, white. So what I do is I just smush it right into my paint. And then I just move it on my page. This doesn't even look like anything on this inspirational cement that we're looking at or wall, but it's kind of fun just to see the kind of marks that it makes. And there's no right or wrong. Just try it out. Maybe do some dots. That's my second page or second box. Third box, I'll leave it up to you. What do you want to do? Let's see, try another tool. I'm going to use maybe a watercolor pencil, just dipping it right in the water. That's how I love to use it. And then I'll try to do these circles again. Oops, that's not black, it's purple, but that's okay. Who knew? Who knew granite and like weird texture things like this? Even sidewalks that have interesting little weird markings, cracks, whatever. I mean, that's what I would like to give you for homework this month. Look around, maybe take some pictures of some weird things you see that are not typical, you know, like flowers are great, nature's great. Try to find something, build yourself a library of strange textures. This one is a weird brush because it has like a regular brush and then like a little tail at the end. So I'm excited to remember how to use this. Oh, it's interesting. It's making really strange. I like how it's like really thin you can do, and then you can press down and do some wild stuff. Throw in some white in there. So sometimes when I'm stuck and I'm kind of unsure of what to do, I just take my library or I look on my phone at all the textures that I see or I take in and use that as inspiration. Because sometimes even like painting a floral, that can be daunting when you don't feel like being creative or you just don't have it in you to be super creative that day, but you still want to make something. So make something abstract. So I went outside the box here and made some weird marks on my page. I'm just going to take some black since I have a little bit of gray and drop it on there while it's still wet to see what happens. Sketchbook, I am a huge proponent of sketchbooks because you can make all your happy accidents in there and you can share them or you don't have to share them. It's really up to you. I'm kind of going off on my own here. I forgot I had this, I'm having so much fun mark making that I forgot I had this other thing happening. All right. Yours is probably going to be super wet. So just blow on it a little bit. Kind of mess mine. Well, there's no such thing as messing it up, but I was wanting to stick with like black and white and I picked the wrong color. But that happens. That happens. All right. I'd love to see what everybody has. If you would like to hold yours up. If it's too wet, maybe we'll come back to it. But, oops. Let's see. I accidentally pinned you, Lindsay. Can you guys see Lindsay on the screen? Okay, there we go. Ooh, look at that. The circle looks amazing. Nice. Okay, Louisa, yours looks great too. Wow, I love the circle look too. Let's see, Louisa, look at those marks. Louisa, what unconventional tool do you have? Do you have like, are you using brushes or scrapes? Okay, yeah, you have the same thing, like a fan brush like me, right? Okay, and a stick. Yes, sticks are great. All right, Marilyn, I see. Whoa, Marilyn, look at that. Okay, and then another round brush, Louisa. Oh, you have the same thing. Hang on, let me see. Can you hold it up again, Marilyn? I missed the bottom section. Cool. I love the gray tones. Yeah, that's great. It's looking awesome. All right. Thank you. Jessica, am I saying your name right? I hope I am. That looks awesome. Yes? Okay. Are those made by brushes or sticks or? Oh, a stick. Yes. Sticks are my favorite things. Like you walk by them all the time, but like sticks and pine needles are great. Like they make the best tools. I was reading about Matisse and he has like so many sticks that he uses for his work. So definitely go for a walk if it's a nice day, grab all the sticks you find, hide them from your dog. I always have to hide mine from my dog so he doesn't chew them all. But yeah, let's go to the next page, which is, so I showed you some ideas using cement, right? Or I should look and see exactly what this is, but I think it's either cement that this gentleman saw or wallpaper, concrete. The next one I thought was fun because it is just jewels or like crystals or cool rocks. And so you can even gather some of those. My son had a rock phase where he was collecting rocks. So we just grab a whole bunch of them also on our walk, or maybe on the flea market stand or something like that. And you're like probably saying, Joy, how are we gonna use that? But we could look and see, like each little thing has their own texture. It makes up its own thing. Like this one has a lot of dots in it. This one has different facets. Same thing with this one. And these are just like tools that I use when I'm mark making to help me be loose and be free, just as a reminder. A good thing to do too is maybe cut this out of your sketchbook. I do that all the time, and tape it to the wall to remind yourself, oh, I really like the mark I made there. So when I'm painting or doing something, I'm going to use that same exact mark or that same exact brush. So what you're really doing is you're kind of like adding, I come from an education background. I was a teacher for many, many years. And I love when kids make little books or reference guides and things like that. So this is kind of like your own reference guide. You're coming up with things with your own hands to enhance your work, right? Because these are things that I can't do. It's coming from you, which is just amazing. All right, so maybe if you don't want to make a square, we don't have to, but let's try to do some of these tools, but we're just gonna try to do it in black and white. So I'm going to try to be inspired by this white one. It's actually clear. And I'm just going to kind of, you probably can't see it. I'll take some gray. So if you mix white with your black, just be careful the amount. And then try to use different tools when you're making it. It does not have to be exactly like this, but it's fun to try. Also, here's a little tip. If you're going to be painting something that has white edges, I always do this with white flowers. I don't paint the actual flower, I just paint the shadow. I'll try to do it here. It might or might not work. It's kind of okay. It's wonky, but that's okay. We're just trying to find the joy in painting. So it doesn't have to be perfect. These are the words I say to myself as I'm making, as I'm doing stuff. Joy. You're just trying to have fun. Don't be so hard on yourself. Because sometimes I want things to look exactly. I'm like, how did those realistic people that make realistic art do it so well? Anybody have any questions? Please feel free to unmute. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. All right, so that's the first rock that I tried to do. I'll probably try to do, let's see here. I'm kind of leaning towards this one right here. I'll pick a different tool. I'm going to try to mimic the way it looks, but does not have to be exact. So I'm going to use my weird brush going sideways. And then you're just really trying to get the look of it, not exact, just like the feel, the expression does not have to exactly look like it. I'm just wiggling my brush now. I'm just gonna say, I don't think it's gonna look exactly like this rock, but that's okay. What's happening is I'm using tools that I can't control, and that's stressing me out a little, but that's part of it. Like, I'm acknowledging that I'm stressed and I'm moving on. There's my attempt at that rock right there. Don't forget the shadow. Shadows are fun. What happened also is I put too much black on my gray there, so just add a weird shadow at the end. So funny. So funny how sometimes it just doesn't work out, but you just have to make the best of it. It's okay. Especially if you're using tools that you're not really used to using all the time, it's gonna lend itself to some uncontrollable marks, which is half this fun. All right, so this one right here has a lot of little dots. I'm not gonna draw it right now. I'm just gonna mimic the different dots. If you're like not feeling black and white and you want to use a different color, feel free. Like if you want to try blue instead. Indigo, that'll be pretty. Red. Whatever you have. Okay, so that's my weird rock right there. Doesn't really look exactly like it, but I don't really mind. So I'm gonna take a color pencil. There's this one color pencil. It's not really a color pencil. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's called a Stabilo Aquarelle, but it writes on paper, glass, plastic, and metal. I love to use this pencil, like dipping it also, and then just, it does like strange marks, I'll show you. Like you could use it straight from the, like you could just use it regular without wetting it, or you can wet it and then it does like, this is great for landscape. It does fun textures. So, you know, make lines, make dots. Key thing here is you're just being loose and being free, not really caring that looks exactly like what it does on the photo, because you're not making a photo. You're making an expression of what you're seeing. Like looking at these tools that where's my favorite stick? It's not, some things I forget I have. There's this weird brush that's like totally tapered at the end of each side. I must have like looked at it and was like, hey, that looks cool. And have now forgotten about it. So I'll try that. All right. Okay, check in with you again, and then maybe we'll make some flowers. Would you like to hold yours up? If you would like to, that'd be awesome. If not, that's okay. All right. Whoa, Lindsay, look at the detail on that. Love it. Marilyn, that looks great. Oh, Brianna, you added some color. So fun. I love it. Is it helping you be loose a little bit, Marilyn, with the brush strokes, trying it different? Okay, great.
And I'm using the Sumi ink, so that's different.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Louisa. Ooh, Louisa. Those look like really fun watercolor, like organic type of rocks. I love it. It looks really pretty. Great. Thank you for sharing. All right. So what I'm going to do now is, am I going too fast? Is everybody good? Everybody's doing okay? Okay, good. I hate to go too fast. And sometimes I talk and I'm like, am I talking too much, guys? You'll tell me if I'm talking too much, right? No? Okay. It's okay. Okay, good. Sometimes I'm like, what am I saying? Joy, what are you saying? Okay. This time I'd like for you, if you have room, My sketchbook is huge, so I'm just gonna flip it onto the other side. And the great thing about having a big spread like this in the sketchbook is I'll remind myself, hey, you have all those marks that you liked on the other side. So if you look at the last page of the reference, which I hope you were able to see. If you don't see it, if you didn't print it out, that's fine. Just do this on your own later too, practice some more. But it's in the Dropbox, the link for the reference images, and then it should say the date. So just look for that date, and if you open it up, it should have all that for you. All right, here we see. Let's see. Oh, okay, thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay put it in the chat. So if you want to click on there, you could see. All right, I love these flowers because they're like pointing to the sky, but we're gonna try to not totally make them look like roses. It's gonna look like flowers, but we're gonna try to keep it really loose, and we're gonna use the texture library that we have on the side here to kind of remind us of what we're doing, okay? So sometimes I do this when I am not sure exactly what to do. I'm trying to see if I can find examples. Okay, so sometimes I just take copy paper. If you have copy paper at home, just use that. And I just make a whole bunch of weird florals that are just messing around. So this is essentially what we're doing. We're just, do you see how you're just dropping inks in different places? Kind of feels fun touching these. These are made by Branches. So if you have copy paper, you can use that, or you can use your page here. I suggest when you're doing this on your own to grab yourself or not grab yourself some, I was gonna say grab yourself some music. Is that what people do? Turn your music on is what I'm trying to say. Turn some music on, make sure it has a cool beat, and then it'll just like help your hand move around more. Also, feel free to stand. Sometimes I have to do that so that I can get different leverage, into what I'm doing. So I'll stand right now. And it just gives you a different angle in what you're doing. Okay, so I'm just looking at my picture. I'm gonna use a weird brush that I haven't used before. Both of my waters are super dirty, but that's okay. Because that actually, if your water's kind of mucky, like mine is, like that will also add to the look of what you're doing. All right, so I'm gonna try to do these inky, super inky flowers. Sometimes I like to just start with, these are roses, starting with this one right here. I'm just painting water onto the page, and then I'll take my ink and just let it go. Dance, baby. See how it just dances? Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Just does its own thing. Do the leaf if you want. Oh boy, look at this. It's like I'm not even doing anything. It's just doing its own thing. Ah, man. Love it. Okay. Maybe take some white. It's really, like I said, we're just playing, seeing how it's looking, taking some white. Why? I'm not sure. Just mixing it with the black to see what happens. Maybe doing a different bud over here. Taking the stick. And just going in there. Even some of the leaves, like this stick is, it's almost making its own like leaf marks. If you have tissue around and like, for example, I'm loving this, but if I hated the way this is looking, I could take some tissue and just dab it right on top there. Oops. Oh, look at that. I accidentally just splattered. That's fun too. Just splatter some stuff around. So you could take your stick and like just, I dipped it in ink again and just splattering. I'm gonna take this weird calligraphy brush. Oh, I guess I used it already. I am just going to go through and I hope you guys, can you hear that? I hope you, can you hear my dog barking? I hope not. I hope my mic's not picking him up. I think he's seeing some friends outside, so he gets excited. Sometimes it's fun to just add like a middle in your flower that you're making. This is looking kind of weird that there's just two of them, so maybe I'll add a bud up here, but I'm just keeping it loose. Like you're just suggesting that there might be a flower there. You're not implying, you're just suggesting. When I used to teach English, that was one of the in English class, infer and imply. You're just suggesting, and maybe somebody else will see something different in what you're creating. I took the kids to, one second, I took the kids to the museum, and a lot of the works were dubbed untitled, and I'm like, oh, and it explained for kids so they knew what it meant. Like untitled is so you can come up with your own, like the viewer can come up with their own look. I mean, not look, but interpretation. And I'm like, maybe I'll start just naming all of my artwork untitled. And then some people say they go through like the Yankee Candle catalog, and then they look at the names like Cottage Summer, like that's what they call their pieces, which is interesting too. Like Summer Breeze, which is so cool because it invokes like something in people's brains, like, oh yeah, I guess that yellow reminds me of summer. All right. Oops, I'm making a mess on my desk here. So that's my first one. And I can't like leave it without putting strange marks everywhere. So I'm gonna switch to, this is just a pencil. And I'm gonna remind myself how much I loved, let me see, some of these, you know, the cement circles maybe. So I'll just add some of that. The half moon looking things. So things do not, you know, paintings do not have to be screaming in color. It could just be quiet too. It could just be black and white. It could be whatever you have. Sometimes I'm traveling. I don't want to carry a whole bunch of stuff. So I'll use, I'll just carry a very limited palette. So that's my first one. Let's try, I think we have time for like two more. Since my sketchbook is wet, I just got some copy paper, so I'll just use that. I'm gonna move this to the side. Like if you could see my desk right now, it's a huge mess. but that's what we like to make, right? Messes are good. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Still doing okay? All right, let me know if you have questions. Great. Okay. This one, we'll take another different flower. And I'm gonna keep this here so that I can remind myself to make weird lines. All right, joining late. Oh, no problem. Thank you for joining. Okay, I will try to, I'm trying to see, even like some of the dark like leaves are just fun. So maybe I'll just do one with just leaves. So I'm just gonna take, take a weird, always pick a weird brush to try. And some of these are like really, really dark, see? So I'm just gonna try to mimic that. I'm really just moving my brush around. Smushing it. That's one of my favorite terms. Just a lot of smushing. Smush your juicy paint brushes around. Okay, so these are leaves maybe. But it's turning my roses a little too hairy. If that makes sense. It's giving it like a weird edge. So I'm going to switch to a different brush. It's turning my roses hairy, that brush. If roses can be hairy, that's so funny. So I'm just gonna kind of do something weird here. I'm trying to do some of these buds, but really not trying to do them, just kind of getting that expression. Ooh, this is fun to do too. While something's wet, just drop paint right on top. Oh, someone's calling me. What? Did they not know I am painting with joy right now? Okay. The expression of a flower, which looks weird because I have this giant leaf on top, but that's okay. Did you lose me? Can you still see what I'm doing? Okay, good. For some reason, when the phone rang, you guys disappeared. Okay, there we are. You will get messy, see? So just, have tissue handy. I don't have that, so I'm wiping it on my pants, but that's okay. So I'm now taking some white. I'm gonna do some of these buds. When I'm doing a rose, I'm just not doing every petal. I'll show you. I am just doing like weird lines and letting the brush do the pressing down, lifting up. But my brush is juicy with paint. So it's not exactly a rose, but maybe somebody will look at it and say, oh, that looks rose-ish. Sorry about my dog ahead of time. He wants to go outside. Just adding some more weird leaves. Maybe I'll add another weird leaf up here. Take a stick. Walking the other day and I found this like, one second, I'm just gonna mute for a sec. All right, so I found this weird looking part of a stick And so I use it all the time now too when I'm working. So I dip it and just see what it does. Don't forget to add stems. Stems are fun. Also, if you're thinking like, oh man, my flowers are like floating in the air, add stems. Take another weird brush. It's gonna do some, oh, whoops. Dropped the blob on mine. That's okay. We'll make something out of it. Okay, so a huge blob. Just, we'll do another rose. Or a hint of a rose, since none of these look like actual flowers. Or maybe they do. My stems are turning into leaves at the end because of this brush. I'm pressing it down strangely. So if that's happening to you, just draw another stem. Or make something strange out of it. Are you guys having a good time with like just messing around with this kind of stuff? You know, great. I'm so happy. A lot of people ask me like, what do you do when you're stuck? This is exactly what I do when I'm stuck. I just look at or even I look at my boys' like school art supplies and see what they have that I can steal and play with for a little bit, just so to get me out of my head. Because sometimes it's hard to always be inspired by something. You have to, and it's okay to not feel inspired, but also just a way to get rid of that block. Just making some weird marks. I forget about these, like, I love doing these weird, crazy scratches. It feels good. This is gonna sound weird, but it feels good for my brain for some reason. Like making these weird marks. It almost scratches my, is that ASMR? Maybe that's what it is. It's like ASMR for my brain, these little marks. So I do enjoy making them. Maybe throw some dots in there. All right, we have about 5 minutes of fun left. But before I check on you guys, I want to let you know next month's Painting with Joy we're not going to do it next month because I will be out of town and I'm not on a little vacation with the family at that times. And I just, I'm not sure about how our internet's going to be. So just so not to complicate things, we will skip it for next month, but we'll be back the following month in May. And maybe since we did a lot of black and white flowers, maybe we'll do like colorful blooms or something, because things will be definitely growing by then. And we'll work on some bouquets or something. I'm gonna stop on mine because I'm feeling like it's turning into a mess, but that's okay. Maybe I'll put some splatter. Splatter is like my way of saying, see, I meant to do that. That was on purpose. Oh, I forgot about the white. I'm gonna add some white on some of the parts. The one thing that I would say about the pieces you're making right now is they're probably super wet. So just be careful where you're putting them, where it won't get knocked down, or you won't accidentally step on it, because I have done that myself. But yeah, I'm going to stop the recording, but we'll still talk. Hi everyone. I wanted to hop back on here and tell you a little bit more about Painting with Joy. Painting with Joy is a monthly paint hangout time where we gather together. I'll give you the photo ahead of time or reference topic and ideas. And then we'll gather together right now via Zoom and we will talk. You can ask me questions. We'll show each other your work. And it's just a time to just relax, just chill, hang out, and create some art together. So information about Painting with Joy will be in the description below. And yeah, definitely check it out and register if you haven't already. Hope to see you there.